Today, it's a topic I should have on the show way more often. Today, we're going to talk photojournalism. Let's go behind the shot. Hi, welcome to Behind the Shot. I'm Steve Brazill. This is the show where we try and get inside the mind of a great photographer by taking a closer look behind one of their shots from conception to completion and all those stories and challenges that happen in between. As always, with this show and every show, there is a blog post associated with this show. You can find it at behindtheshot.tv. Find this episode, find the blog post. I write a little bit about my guest. Any links that we mentioned are also in that blog post, and then also a small sample gallery of today's guest's work. If you are watching on YouTube, that's absolutely fine. Head down below the like and subscribe button, and down there you will find the same links that we mentioned and a small description of the show. I can't put the full blog post that I write in on the behindtheshot.tv website, but most of the stuff is there that you're probably going to end up caring about. By the way, if you are watching on YouTube, you don't have to watch the whole thing. If there's a specific section you want to get to, look in that description, and I have chapter markers, timestamps that you can click, and they'll take you to whatever section of the show you might be looking for. So with that said, let's get started. Please welcome to the show Pulitzer Prize-winning photojournalist, Kevin Painchaud. Kevin, how are you, bud?
I'm doing great, Steve. How are you doing?
I'm doing quite good. I did pronounce the name right?
You sure did. Absolutely.
Okay. Phonetics for the win, man. It's never fails. So I want to go a couple of different places with you, because not only are we going to talk about a really killer photojournalism shot today, but you have kind of an interesting history and how you got to where you are. You and I have met before. We met at Imaging USA in February of this year, which, by the way, is one of the key reasons that I go to conferences like that, right? I mean, why do you go to conferences like that?
For me, well, I mean, of course, connections, but also everything I do, I'm always trying to learn something new, no matter what it is. I mean, I've been shooting since I've been 14 years old, and every single shoot that I ever go on, I'm always learning something new. And so, going to Imaging USA, there are so many classes and so many speakers, and it was just such a fun place to be a sponge and just absorb as much as I could and just try to learn little nooks and crannies of stuff, and also just see the latest gear that's out there. And it's good. It's really good.
See, and that's my favorite thing. I don't go to a lot of the sessions as they were. I tend to hang out on the expo floor and look at all the gear and run into people. Ran into my buddy Kirsten Lutz, who was there. He was in from London. In fact, I know you've been on Kirsten's Camera Shake podcast. By the way, folks, if you are not subscribed to the Camera Shake podcast, you should be. You were on episode 219. And as I said at the start here, I kind of want to dive a little bit more into your background before we jump into the photo, get to know you, as it were, because reading about your journey to where you are photographically now, it seems to me, it's going to be interesting if, I'm completely misstating this in your mind, and tell me if I am, but it seems to me that you've had three very specific key moments in your photographic journey. Number one, you found a love for photography, as you just said, very early on in high school, right?
Mm-hmm.
What was it about those years, high school, finding photography, shooting, the darkroom? What was it that hooked you?
Basically, it was a good friend of mine. I was a skateboarder back then, and a good friend of mine was an incredible photographer, black and white photographer, and I saw his prints and the way he captured motion and movement and the composition, and it was all black and white. It was just absolutely blew me away. I was one of those people when growing up, I would, always get National Geographic and Sports Illustrated, but I would always just look at the photos. And so photos had always captivated me. And so when I saw his photos of us skating, and they were just really beautiful, and it was it's just seeing people that I know and how they people I skate with and shots that were done with them, and it was really captivating. I was like, I really want to do this. And so that's why I started to pick up the camera and took beginning photography in high school, my freshman year of high school, and had the Pentax K1000.
Wow.
Yeah. And, working in the dark room and, just, the moment, like most people, the moment they get in the dark room and they see their first image develop in front of their eyes, and it's like you become addicted, and it's just complete, magic. And I was hooked and was just shooting all the time as much as I could. I just loved it so much.
Skateboarding photography is one of those things. Like, I was never a skateboarder. I tried. It just hurt too much when I didn't succeed. But I had Atiba Jefferson on once, and it's such a unique community, skateboarders. And Atiba is a legend. He's also a Canon Explorer of Light, but he's a legend in the skateboard community for photography. And it was so funny because I got a text message from my kid after I released the show with Atiba saying, all my friends are talking about you because you had Atiba on the show, right? I mean, it's that kind of community. So the second key moment to me, again, the way I'm interpreting your life, I apologize,
Yeah.
was August 21st, 1989. Explain, helicopter view, but explain what that day did to your photographic journey.
So that was the day that I was in a car accident, and I was a passenger in the car with two other buddies, and we were in a two-seater CRX. And because I was the youngest, I was in the hatchback, and middle of the night, and the driver was just going way too fast and slid off a road, hit a tree. Car flipped over 4 or 5 times down a ravine. I flew out the back and fractured my skull, punctured my lung, bruised my kidney, got knocked into a coma for 4 days. And that, going through that and through the recovery, my whole life changed from that moment, because I realized how much people really mean to me. And I realized the impact that other human beings, just having the connection with other people, just had to me. And it really just opened my eyes and actually, kind of my heart, where I no longer saw people as strangers, but saw people as, who have these stories. And so I just became curious about, who this person was. And it just opened up a whole new world, a whole new window of just seeing the world, that was just really magical. And it was an amazing thing to go through.
So, first of all, glad that you're recovered. And I feel like when I look at some of the journalistic stuff that you've done, I kind of see that appreciation for people and humanity, right? I mean, for lack of a better phrase, appreciation is probably the wrong word here, but I know what I mean. That understanding of the human story, as it were. Your work. Oh, by the way, the third thing, I almost forgot the third day. New Year's Day 2023.
Oh, yeah.
You got a surprise from your managing editor. What was that?
So, on New Year's Day, was a Sunday. It was the first of, God, I think 13 atmospheric rivers that pounded the Central Coast for a total of 3 months straight. And so it was that first one that came that the rest of our team was on vacation because it was New Year's. Everybody was out. And so it was just my managing editor, Tamsin, and myself were the only people that were in town. And so that Sunday, she's like, there's a huge storm, can you go out and cover it? So we went out and started shooting. And, literally for the next 3 months, it was storm after storm after storm after storm. And it caused major damage, major flooding. Entire community of Pajaro got completely flooded over. We had major landslides all around the county. We had road closures. We had flooding over the highways. We had it was just catastrophic damage all over Santa Cruz County. And it was one of those things where once our team all came back, started coming back in the office January 3rd and 4th, on that, everybody just dispersed all over Santa Cruz County and did what we knew we needed to do. And everybody just started reporting on what was going on. And so I have some notes here. In the first 2 weeks, from January 3rd to January 17th, we ended up wrote 83 stories, 86 blog posts. We had a live storm blog post that would be updated constantly about what's going on, what areas were flooding, where evacuation centers are what areas were where the mudslides were, what roads were closed. We just provided all the information for the county on all the emergency services, anything that everybody needs to know that they had no access to find this information. We were like the central hub for that. We ended up putting out over 30 email and text alerts and a total of 157 social media posts.
Wow.
And then we did those in just the first 2 weeks of the storm. And so fast forward a year later, we were, it was on a Sunday, our managing editor sent a Slack message to the entire team. We have a mandatory meeting tomorrow at 10 o'clock, Zoom meeting. And then everybody needs to be in the office at 11:30 on Monday. And so as a journalist, when you hear that mandatory meeting, you're like, oh my God, this isn't going to be good.
Now what?
I know. And so, but she did preface, don't worry, it's good news. So on Monday morning, when we all, logged into the Zoom meeting, we could tell that Tamsin was extremely excited. And the moment we're all logged in, she just blurted out, we won the Pulitzer. And all of us were dead silent going, what are you talking about? And then she said, oh, we just won the Pulitzer Prize for our coverage of the storms that we did from last year. And everybody was, completely stunned. I started just crying and people were just completely blown away. And she said, I didn't tell anybody on the team that I even submitted us for the Pulitzer Prize because she didn't want anybody on her team to doubt what she knew that we would, the quality of product that we were putting out. She didn't want anybody to doubt her. And so she didn't even tell her boss until the day before, until that Sunday when she got a call from the Pulitzer board saying that we had won for the breaking news. And so that was 10 in the morning. So we all went into the office at 11:30 because at noon they were doing the national broadcast for the Pulitzer Prize. And so all of us were sitting around the conference table, still not knowing if this was true. We thought, okay, maybe we won some junior award because we're a small team. We're in Santa Cruz. Lookout Santa Cruz. It's an online daily news organization. So we're online only. And at that time, we only had 7 reporters and editors and me. I was their only photographer. So we're a small team. And that they're apparently saying that we had won the Pulitzer Prize. And so we're very skeptical. And sure enough, the second award that they announced was, for breaking news category, and Team for Lookout Santa Cruz. And we just exploded and we're just so ecstatic and, completely flipping out the office. And it was a moment that, it changed everything for, all of our lives. And it was one of those things that you can't, as a journalist, you can't win anything better. And it just meant the world to us. And every single day I wake up thinking the fact that, our team, Pulitzer Prize winning, I'm a Pulitzer Prize winning photojournalist. And it's just an honor that's, I can't even describe. So it was truly an amazing situation. And it was all because of just our team at the time. We just did what we knew we needed to do. Nobody told us, like Tamsin never said, okay, we need you to do this or report on this. Everybody just went off and did what we knew we needed to do. And so everybody has their specific beat. We have Hillary, who's our education reporter, and we have Lily, who's our food reporter, and we have Wallace, who's our entertainment reporter. But we dropped all of our beats and just covered the different areas that we were. We have different areas. People live in different areas all over the county. So we just focus on those areas. And it was one of those things where we love our county so much. We love Santa Cruz. And it was an obligation and an honor for us to serve our community. And so it wasn't, we didn't do this to get any accolades or to win any awards or, we just did it because we love our community and we knew that we had the technology and the facility to give the county, all the information that we can possibly give them, because they couldn't get on the radio, they couldn't get through TV, they couldn't get through the paper because that's coming the next day, and our news reporting and the information that we were providing was the only source that the county can depend on, and so it was just a privilege for us to be able to serve our community, and being able to win this award was like, holy, it was just unbelievable.
So here's the thing. You've mentioned the managing editor's first name a couple of times.
Tamsin.
But submitting that without telling you guys was kind of cool. So what is her full name?
Tamsin McBride.
Okay. So let's just get those props out where they belong. So you have now with what you've got on.
I said it's Tamsin McMahon. I don't even know why I said McBride. It's Tamsin McMahon, and she's really from Canada, and she had actually joined our news team 3 months previous. This is the crazy thing, is that our company, Lookout Santa Cruz, had started in November of 2020. And we'd started in the middle of COVID. Nobody was ever to meet in person. We were the startup that we didn't know if it was going to be successful or not. I had moved. I was shot from a major paper, the Santa Cruz Sentinel. I was there shooting for them at the time, and I was doing all the cover shots, and I was getting a lot of my stuff in the paper all the time, and I loved shooting for the Sentinel, and they offered me the job with Lookout, and I was very hesitant because going from a newspaper to an online didn't seem like a step down, and it was a new company, and I didn't know how successful it's going to be, and it was my wife, the one that convinced me to do it. And so when we started, for the first couple of years, it was a roller coaster. We had a lot of people that either got fired or got laid off. We had our managing editor at the time, Chris, ended up quitting after 3 months because he was just burned out, and it was a lot of work. And we went through a really roller coaster of a time where there's a period where we were bare bones staff, and we're kind of struggling. And then the moment that Tamsin came in November 2022, 3 months before the storms hit, everything just clicked. She was such an amazing person and really believed in all of us and would sit and listen to everybody's input and just stood behind us and gave us this confidence, and really was the glue that made our entire news team click and brought us together. We also got in Chris, who is our politics and policy reporter, brought him in, and he was unbelievable. So all the pieces were in place, and Tamsin was the glue that bonded us together. And we became such a tight team where there was such respect, trust, and genuine love between the entire team. So when the storms kicked in, because of her, we already were clicking, and we were a really fine-tuned machine where we were just believed in each other, had confidence in each other that we didn't previously have. So when it comes to Tamsin, it's more than just her submitting us for the Pulitzer. It's for her creating this newsroom that just worked. And so Tamsin, it was, yeah. And so when she had the audacity to submit us for the Pulitzer Prize without letting anybody know, it was definitely one of those things where it's like, oh my God. Like every single day, I thank her all the time, and I just let her know how much she means to me and how much she means to the team for what she has done and how it's affected all of us.
So, with all that in mind, with all that background, I want to ask you the
Yeah.
question I ask most of my guests now,
Uh-huh.
which is, in general, photography, not photojournalism per se, but in general photography,
Mhm.
what makes a great photograph great?
Telling the story. I think if you look at a photo and it draws you in and it brings you into that photo and you're living that experience, whatever it is, that for me, that's what makes a great photo. With it's like some of your music photography is unbelievable, and I look at some of your work, and it's like you feel the energy and the sweat and the emotion and the lights and the people screaming. It's like it brings you in, and so when you see a really good photo, you're reliving that moment. And so for me, that's what makes it great photo great.
Which is going to make this interesting. So I had you, before we started, make sure that you had a pen and a paper. And I forgot to have you
Yeah.
write the words down in advance, which is my mistake, but we're going to have
All
you
right.
write them down now.
Hit me.
There's going to be 6 terms. The terms are, for everybody that's just listening on audio and not going to be watching the video, because I'm going to put them up on screen on the video too. But the 6 terms are technical execution, whatever that means to you, storytelling, creativity, impact, composition, and lighting. So again, just to run through them: technical execution, storytelling, creativity, impact, composition, and lighting. 6 terms. What I'd like you to do, take as much time as you need. What I'd like you to do, you're already processing it, is rank those in order of importance. I understand they're all important,
Jesus.
right? Every one of them is important. But of those 6, what would you rank in the 6th position?
The technicality of it, or the technical expertise, that's probably 6.
Okay. Number 5?
Composition.
Interesting. Okay. Number 4?
Maybe impact.
Number 3?
Creativity.
Number 2?
Lighting. And number 1, storytelling.
I like that. Okay. It's always interesting because everybody thinks, oh, everybody's going to make this one number 1. And in my experience, I've only done this like 4 or 5 times now. That is not the case. People do put them in different orders. So let's get into the photo. Before we dive into the photo, a little bit of housekeeping I need to do. First of all, to let everybody know, I don't know yet, because I've got a couple of shows in the works and I try and mix up the order of shows. I don't know if you're going to see this show released at the beginning of May or in June, but on the chance that it's released in the beginning of May, I got to tell you that I am taking the month of May off. I've got some stuff planned. I'm not going to be able to record any new shows. It's going to be difficult to release new shows because it takes a little bit of time during the day to release them as well. Once I'm clear in June, I will start releasing shows again. Again, this may not come out until June, at which point everything I just said really doesn't make any sense. But for sake of conversation, if this does air on maybe May 4th, then the rest of May, just so that you know, I'm going to be dark for the month of May. Also, with that in mind, it would be a great time for you to head to the website, behindtheshot.tv. Go through the back catalog, check out some shows that you missed. You can do the same thing on YouTube, by the way. If you're on YouTube, just go look at the Behind the Shot playlist that I've got. It's all the episodes that I've done. I even have a playlist on YouTube of, start here, so that if you don't know a lot about the show, you can kind of get started there. This is a podcast first and foremost. So along with YouTube, there is an audio-only version of this show and a video version of this show in your podcast app, if your podcast app supports video like Apple Podcast does. So find the one that fits you. And again, if you're watching it and you like it on YouTube, please head down below the like and subscribe buttons. Leave a comment if you want to, make sure that you hit the like and subscribe button and all of that type of stuff. All right. So with that in mind, let's jump into today's image. And today's image is the CZU Lightning Complex Fire, right?
Correct.
Okay. So here's the image that we're going to talk about today. We went through a couple of them. This one, there was something about this image. What's funny is, as I was sitting back and kind of analyzing this image, because on every show I do a verbal description of the image, because a lot of the people listen to an audio-only version, which is always interesting to me because it's a show about photography. You kind of need to see the photo. But a lot of them listen when they're driving and they go look at the photo after the fact. Like they don't even want to look at the photo before they listen. They want to see if they get it in their head. So I take the time to describe it. And when we were going through the different shots and I saw this image, you made the comment earlier, very nice comment, by the way, about my photography, about storytelling, right? And how storytelling is so important. And what I love about this shot is it's storytelling, but it's also creating questions in my mind, which we'll get into. Let's start with the technical stuff. What Canon body? I think you're a Canon shooter, right?
Yes, Canon.
What Canon body did you use for this?
This one was back in 2020, so as the R, the EOS R.
So an EOS R. Do you know the lens that you used?
24 to 70, 2.8.
Okay. At 24 millimeters.
Correct.
And Canon lens or something else?
It was, I think that was a Tamron.
Okay. Exposure wise. In the EXIF data, this shows 2/50th of a second at 2.8 and ISO 500. Is that about right?
Sounds about right.
Manual mode, white balance manual. I ask everybody that does this question because obviously if you shoot raw, you can change the white balance. Do you do manual white balance for the purpose of making it easier to batch, change the white balance on all of the shots, or is it because you want a consistent preview on the back of the camera? Why do you do manual white balance?
It should have actually. I think it was auto white balance.
Oh, was it?
Say manual? Yeah,
I thought it
was
did.
Auto white balance. Yeah, I
Okay.
had manual. Everything else was set manual, but I think my white balance was auto.
Okay, sounds good. I must have misread it then. So
yeah.
Before we dissect this a little bit, because I've got some questions on your exposure stuff, especially in this scenario. This is not the Pulitzer story with the flooding and the rain and the storms and everything. This is a shot from a huge wildfire that, correct me if I'm wrong, it devastated tons, a huge amount of the Santa Cruz Mountains. Back in 2020, the CZU Lightning Complex Fire. But while this was not the Pulitzer photo, you've won a lot of awards for this too, right?
Correct. Yeah, I won a whole list of awards, a lot of international awards, and a whole variety of stuff on this photo. Yeah.
So before I have you tell me the story of shooting this, for those of you on the audio feed, I'm going to run this down. There's no way my description, usually I say something to the effect of I'm going to butcher this. There's no way to describe it. It's not the case here. I think I can describe it pretty well. There's no way I think I can paint the right picture in your mind for this because there's a chaos here, right? You're standing on a mountain road. So I want you to picture mountain road. It's kind of like, on the side of a mountain, you've got a hill on your left, but it appears to drop off on the right. So I kind of want you to start there. You're standing in the middle of a black asphalt road. And that black asphalt road has 2 lanes, one going up the hill, one coming down the hill. And there is a double yellow line in the center, lane line. Why is it double yellow? Because there's a curve in the road we'll get into in just a second. But here's some of the things to me that really jump out about this shot. The asphalt is full width of the photo at the bottom. It goes out the bottom right corner almost, and it goes out the bottom left corner. In fact, specifically, the double yellow lines that are curving around this road, the double yellow lines exit at the bottom left corner of the frame. The asphalt, plain asphalt for the right-hand lane, the uphill lane, exits out the bottom right corner of the lane. That road that starts full width at the bottom goes up and curves to the left. I'm doing my hands here, so those of you that are on an audio feed, There's nothing I'm doing with my hands is going to make sense. It goes up, and at about the top rule of third, it curves to the left around the hill, and it exits the frame at the top rule of third on the far left side of the frame, leaves the frame right at the rule of third. Left of the road, as I mentioned, there's a hill. So it makes it feel like I'm going up. I guess I could be going down, but the road looks like it goes up. And there are some trees on the side of the hill. I think the right side of the road drops down a hill a little bit. The reason I say I think, and it's not clear to me, is the rest of the image. So I've painted the whole left side of the image, the hill, the trees, then the road, and on the whole right side of the image, starting at the bottom right corner and going all the way up to the upper left corner. So diagonal, it's the top right side of the image, is solid smoke. I don't mean white smoke. It's a very warm, hot, yellow smoke like from a fire. You can actually see some trees in the upper right corner. And then dead center, in the middle of the photo, standing in the middle of the road, in a full-on yellow fire suit with a fire helmet, is somebody walking. And when I first saw the shot, maybe this is what actually hooked me to this shot. When I first saw the shot, I thought, firefighter. Not a firefighter. Whoever it is has a camera, and I know they're shooting Canon because it's a white Canon L series lens, right? And they're walking towards the smoke as though they want to catch pictures of the fire, but you can't really tell how far the flames are away. There's so much energy here. Did I miss anything I should have seen in this?
Oh man, you hit it really. Your always descriptions are always dead on. I think probably
So,
the one thing that also that I like is that so he's running up the road that goes to the left, and then if you look farther up on the left, you'll see a little beam of light of sunlight that goes
yes.
between where this, and so that kind of helps your eye draw your eye up there, which is kind of cool. Like,
Well, and that's the other thing is there's almost like, whether it be, artificial or not, there's this dodging burning effect because of the smoke. So your eye goes to the brightest spot in the image. The bottom of the image is darker. The left hill on the left is darker. The smoke is a bright, warm, yellowish type color that goes all the way up to the brightest spot where that beam of light is coming through. So now you have the leading line of the road curving you up. You exiting at a rule of third, by the way. You have the bright spot at the end of that curve taking your eyes up. Like, there's everything that you want in a photojournalistic image to direct the viewer what to look at and where to look at. The yellow outfit against the black asphalt, but partially against the smoke. I love photojournalism like this. It has me, again, it's storytelling, but it also has me questioning things. Why is there a solo subject in the middle of this chaos? Who is it? What are they doing? Why are they going to the fire? Right? I mean, there are so many questions. So let's start here.
yeah.
Tell us the story of making this.
All right. So this was so the fire. It was in August 2020. It was a CZU Lightning Fire. It was, God, I think there was 87 fires that started on one night because it was a huge lightning storm all over California, and I believe it ended up lighting 87 different fires all over central and northern California. And this was one that ignited the huge fire in Santa Cruz County that lasted. It was on fire for almost a month, destroyed over 1,000 homes. It was just, it was just completely devastated the entire mountain range and all the way to San Mateo, which is, really far off. And so this was, I think, the fire started on Saturday night. I think this was on a Tuesday or a Wednesday. And that's my buddy, mine, Shmuel Thaler. We were both photographers, photojournalists for Santa Cruz Sentinel newspaper at the time when I was shooting for the Sentinel. And so we try to make it a habit when there's huge fires that we try to carpool together for safety reasons. And so we were together, and he had received a call that there was a back burn that was up one of the roads. And so we drove up there. We hit a couple of spots along the way, shot some places, but then we got to where the back burn was. And there was, I would say, probably about 5 or 6 firefighters that had ignited this back burn to burn all this remaining fuel so that as the fire comes in, it won't just overtake it. And so the entire hill, all the way across the road, all the way down, was on fire. And so I was shooting the other way. I was shooting where the firefighters were, and then I saw Shmuel run past me, and I just turned around and saw him running towards the flames, and I got, I think, a total of 3 shots. And this is one of the shots, and so he's actually running towards the fire in order to get the shot. And so it was yeah.
So let's just say this right now. That's insane. We're all thinking it, right? That's insane, number one. Number two, so there are times when you see a photograph where you see the back of somebody and you think, man, I wish I could see the front. Part of what leapt off the website when I saw this photo is I don't want to see the front of this person. Seeing the Canon L70-200 2.8 swinging off to his left hip, his feet in the position that he's running. You can see the helmet. You can see the yellow. The mystery of who it is, but knowing who it is at the same time that it's a photographer, there's just so many things that suck you into this story. And I think, like all really good storytelling, it lets you know what's happening while also leaving you wondering what's happening, right? There's kind of this yin and yang, I guess, is a way I would word it. So here's a question, though. Your exposure info, you're at 24 millimeters, and you're shooting at 2.8. Now, I realize, yes, you're at 24 millimeters, so 2.8 is absolutely probably fine for this. But still, 2/50th of a second, that's absolutely fine for this. He's moving, but 250 is good. But you're at 2.8 and you're at 500 ISO. And I found myself wondering, do you shoot at 2.8 all the time? Because that seems risky in this environment, that you might end up with too shallow of a depth of field. And on an EOS R, you're only at 500 ISO. You could have gone higher on the ISO and gotten to a safer f4 or 5.6. Was there a reason you chose that?
Not so. I chose 2.8 because early when I was shooting the other way, I was getting some good detail shots of the firefighters that, with their tools in hand, fighting the fire. And so I was getting some close-ups with them. And so this one firefighter that was right in front of me, I wanted to isolate him from the firefighter. So I had it set exposing for him at 2.8 because I wanted that shallow depth of field with I wanted him to be in focus and the people and the other firefighters that were behind him to be out. So that was why I did 2.8. And obviously when I saw Shmuel run around, I didn't have time to adjust my aperture. I would have done this at, maybe 6.7. I don't know if I would have done 8 because I like having some little bit of a little bokeh and having some stuff a little bit out of focus. But so that was why I did 2.8 because I was previously shooting on the other side and I literally just whipped around and got him running past me.
So is the 6, 5, 6, 6, 7, somewhere around there, is that your happy spot normally?
Around, yeah. I mean, it's funny. So I have my custom settings, and C1 I usually do it at 3.5 at 3/50th of a second and auto ISO, and then for my C2 I usually had it up at a f8 3/50 of a second at auto ISO. So I'm usually between, around that. I'll if I want to do it shallow, I'll usually do it like 3.5, just because I don't want it to. I want to have a little bit of wiggle room from the two, from the 2.8 being real shallow.
Right.
Um,
Right.
but I usually those are usually my two happy spots, either the 3.5 or the f8.
Okay. That makes sense. So
Yeah.
to me, here's part of the reason, by the way. This is a perfect example of why I started doing those 6 terms.
Yep.
Because to me, photojournalist, and this is just me as not a photojournalist, although arguably music photography is photojournalistic,
Mm-hmm.
but to me, photojournalism lives and dies on competition, on composition.
Mm-hmm.
You're not supposed to become part of the story. You're not supposed to influence the story, but every photojournalist does, whether they
Yep.
want to or not, because you're choosing the lens, you're
Mm-hmm.
choosing the focal length, you're deciding what the viewer's point of view is, you're deciding what to include in a shot, and you're deciding what to not include in a shot, right? To me, the composition here nails this shot, but you didn't put composition high on your list. Can you explain that to me? Am I wrong?
No, you're absolutely right. So I mean, maybe I should reorder reorder it, because that and I think that it actually probably should be on top of my list, because every shoot that I do, I'm always thinking composition.
Oh, okay.
Um, I just shot a protest this morning at the UC, and so I'm always thinking composition, because that composition and storytelling in a photo go hand in hand. Because if you have a crappy composition, there's not much of a story that is going to be told, because your eye isn't wandering. You're not allowing the viewer to analyze a photo if the composition's not good. Do you know what I mean?
I know
So
exactly what you mean.
yeah, I mean, I think that the composition is actually is extremely important, and I probably would recategorize that, but you put me on the spot, and I just think, because lighting's always important, because every photo, it's light is everything when it comes to photography. So those terms that you gave me, those are all tough ones, but yes, I think composition would be bumped up.
Again, to me, when you're looking at this shot, the composition of this makes the shot, right?
Yeah.
You got rule of thirds coming in nice and strong. You have this leading line leading up around the hill. You then have, like we said before, that brighter spot in the back where you have some like burning down here. And so your eyes kind of go here and then lead you also to this spot. You even have this kind of, diagonal lines that you would have with an overlay in Lightroom. This is one of those images that actually would be fun to pull into Lightroom, go to the crop tool and use the O key to change the overlays to see.
Yeah.
Because my guess is this even lines up with, I haven't tried this, I should do this. My guess is that this even lines up with the golden spiral. Like there's so many things happening here, which makes me kind of wonder. As a Pulitzer Prize-winning photographer, your team won it and you're the photographer of that team. What matters to you when you're framing the shot? Like, what are you thinking as you're looking through the viewfinder and as you're framing it? You say, you've got composition in mind. Are there things as you're looking through the viewfinder that you're actively thinking about or trying to avoid?
Yes. Well, when every shoot that I go to, the first thing I think of is, and this is, I mentor a lot of photographers in this area, and I do a lot of talks to different high schools and stuff, is whenever I go to a shoot, I'm always thinking, okay, what is the story? And so I will get the wide shot, establishing shot that shows where the location is, how many people are there, who are the major players? What is there any signage that shows what the location is, or and so I'll get the wide shot and then I'll start punching in. And so I try to find links that can tell the story of what's going on, along with any emotion or action that's going on, whether if it's a person yelling or having their fist up or whatever it is, so that in one read, in one photo, there's multiple different reads in that through that one photo. You'll know exactly where we're at, what's going on, and then try to bring you into this photo by a person's emotion or actions. So those are the things that I look for every shoot that I do. And then a lot of times what I'll do is I'll end up punching in, and then I'll start wide, and then I'll start punching in, and I'll try to get extreme close-ups of just maybe a person's eye or just their hands or what they're holding. And so when I was shooting for the paper, it was always tricky because let's say I'd be at a protest for let's just say 4 hours at a protest, be shooting hundreds of photos, and the paper will use either one or two photos. When I'm shooting for Lookout, when I'm shooting for online, they'll do a full gallery. They'll have sometimes 20, 25 of my photos in a full gallery. So I'm able to tell the whole story of what's going on. And then the other thing that I do is I try to tell the story from many different angles, from a many different perspectives as I possibly can, so that I don't want to be the one that says, this is a story that's being told. But I want to give all the parts to an editor so that when they're laying out for the story that's being written by the writers, they can piece and say, okay, this photo and this photo, this works for the story that's being told through the article. Because a lot of times I don't know what their perspective is. I don't know exactly what the writer's going to be saying. I'm just covering the story. And so I don't want to dictate this is the story that's going to be told when it might be something totally different than what's being written. So I try to do full coverage from every single angle and every single perspective that I possibly can. So I'm always just nonstop running around, just shooting between my. I have three lenses. I have my 14 to 24, my 24 to 70, and then my 70 to 200. Then I also have a 100 to 400 when I need the reach, but that one usually stays in my car.
It's such a photojournalistic approach to things, which obviously you're a photojournalist. It makes sense, but it's also refreshing to hear that kind of generic's the wrong word, but that I want my photos to be able to support what the author of the story is going to be. It's funny because usually I will, bring up and talk about how somebody lit a shot, where in this case, you're not lighting it. You're capturing an event that's happening in front of you, but yet you're clearly thinking about it, which is, you commented on that sliver of light in the background. We've got the dark, we've got the light. But to me, when you get into photojournalism and light, there's a couple of things that come into play, because photojournalism normally has heavy editing restrictions, right? To maintain photojournalistic integrity, you're not going to go in and remove those leaves in the middle of the road. Never. You're not going to go in and add, which I had somebody do one time. I had somebody shoot a concert for me, and they submitted a ridiculous number of shots, like 250 shots. And in a bunch of them, they added stage lights. And when I said, at one point, I didn't realize it at first. And I said, I kind of like this shot. He goes, how funny, you picked the one where I added lights. And I'm like, what? Like, I could have posted that not knowing that you added a light. And that's a problem. Luckily, my outlet doesn't really care. It's telling a story, and, it's not photojournalistic in that sense, but still it's an issue. Every outlet has their own limits and their own rules. And the easiest way for me to describe photojournalistic editing restrictions are color correction, crop, dodge, and burn. Does that accurately cite what your restrictions would be?
100%. 100%. You're never, the ethics of photojournalism, you can never remove or add or manipulate anything in a photograph at all, except for exposure levels, sharpness, color balance, and cropping, and that's it. Um, which is makes life easy for us because when we're processing, there's only so much that you can do. So I'm a Lightroom guy, and I have anywhere from 3 to 5 assignments a day, and so I'm able to process and edit and upload photos, get them done pretty quick now.
You said Lightroom. Do you also use Photo Mechanic or anything like that?
Yeah, I use Photo Mechanic for all my culling.
Okay.
So I do all my culling, Photo Mechanic, and then bring them straight in Lightroom.
Editing wise, what might you have done to this shot?
Just levels a little bit of vignetting. I don't think I sharpened anything. I think that's about it. Just the levels, the curves. I just did the curves and cropping and vignetting, and that's about it. And I didn't even crop that much on this one because I remember I had sent Shmuel, my buddy of mine, the original photo of this, and it's pretty similar. I mean, I cropped it a little bit because I wanted to get the road, that goes directly to the left hand corner. So I cropped that a little bit and I made it so it's
right.
It's symmetrical. But that's pretty much it. Everything else was pretty straight out of the camera. Just the curves and the cropping.
Dude, such a good shot. Really, honestly, such a cool shot. So I'm going to switch gears. We're going to go into a speed round. I'm going to ask a question. Whatever the quickest answer to come to your mind is, that's the answer.
All right, hit me.
Okay, ready?
Yep.
Put your running shoes on. Here we go. Your top photojournalism tip.
Know the story. Know the story that's being told. And never stop moving. Always be running around and see things from as many different angles as you possibly can.
Biggest photo mistake you have made or almost made?
Biggest mistake I've made was I have a double harness, and one of them, the brackets broke, and I was in the middle of a protest. My camera just smashed on the ground, and had to get that sucker repaired, and that was painful.
Favorite composition rule if you have one?
Rule of thirds, because it's aesthetically pleasing. I went to film school, and that's always what we learned.
Favorite band or performer?
Oh, I've got a lot of favorite bands, but a performer, there's this amazing Irish folk punk band called Skinny Lister, and they played not too long ago, and they were
have photographed Skinny Lister. Yeah,
they're such a fun band.
Yeah, fun to photograph too. Absolutely fun to photograph. Favorite drink?
Bourbon. I'm a bourbon guy.
Same as me, man. Me and my whiskey. You know that. We talked.
Yep, I do.
Favorite movie or TV show?
The Bear.
Oh.
We've seen that whole series twice now, our whole family, and waiting for the next episode or next season to come out in June, I believe. Love that show.
Nice. I like that. Final question.
Yep.
Is there a photographer out there that you think more people should know about and follow?
I got a couple. Shmuel Thaler. He's my buddy of mine who was running through the fire in that one shot. This guy, John Hefty, I discovered him on Instagram. He's a local kid. He was a high schooler. He ended up blowing me away with our intern all last year, and now is in college, and he's just incredible photographer. And this other guy, Patrick Tehan, who's this also Pulitzer Prize-winning photojournalist, who's down here in Santa Cruz. That's just unbelievable, incredible talent.
If you want to follow any of those, or if you want to find their websites or their Instagrams or whatever, I will put links to those three photographers in the show notes, both on YouTube in the description and in the blog post at behindtheshot.tv. So for you, if people want to find Kevin Painchaud, I knew I would do that sooner or later. Where do people go? What's your website? What's your socials? Where can people find you and follow you?
KevinPainchaud.com is my website. And my Instagram is Painchaud Kevin. Those are my two main ones.
Okay. And for spelling, let's just make sure people understand Painchaud. So spell it for them.
Pain, Pain, and then Chaud. Painchaud.
Perfect. Kevin, thank you so much for doing this. Again, it was great to meet you at Imaging, and I'm so glad that we finally connected and got this done. And again, people, make sure you go watch the episode that he was on the Camera Shake podcast too. But dude, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
I really appreciate it, Steve. Thank you.
Believe me, it's my pleasure. And make sure that if you're watching on YouTube, if you like what you've seen, head down, hit subscribe, hit like, turn on notifications so you know when I release something new. All the links that we mention are in the description on YouTube. And again, you can also find the podcast and all the ways that you can subscribe to the podcast and the blog post for this episode at behindtheshot.tv. If you want to follow me, that's Steve Brazill. It's stevebrazill.com. It's at Steve Brazill pretty much on all the social media sites. You can find me there as well. If you like what you saw, please, in a podcast app or wherever you're watching this, please leave us a nice review. Leave me a comment if you want. Comment down on YouTube, whatever you want to do. Again, thanks very much to Kevin Painchaud, my guest today. Make sure you join us next time as we try and get inside the mind of a great photographer by taking a closer look behind the shot.